Hello, 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 folks. This is Josh Money with a podcast for all seasons. And today is going to be season 4, episode 4, I believe, or episode 3, rather. And what we're going to be talking about today is the events of San Diego Comic-Con 2017. We know that we're a little bit late to the party on this, but we wanted to kind of hear some of the announcements, really get a good assessment of everything that went on. It's a lot of information to take out. And unless you're doing kind of a live daily update, a lot of people get misinformation. They get a lack of information. So we wanted to kind of be able to, assess what happened at San Diego Comic-Con in the best way. We figured about a week or so later was going to be the way to go. So with me, as always, is my co-host, Eric Joseph, and I'm going to let him get started to talk about some of the things that went on at San Diego Comic-Con. And Eric, get us started. What happened over at San Diego?
Hi, Josh, and hi to everybody listening. Well, as we know, a lot happened, and I want to preface by saying anyone who listened to Culture Junkies Live earlier this week, we were guests on that. Thank you for doing so, but we're not going to really do a rehash of what we did over there. Over there, we talked about, many different things out of San Diego, whereas here, we're going to talk more about movies, actually. For the first half of the show, we want to talk about some of the bigger trailers that dropped, and publicly at that on the internet. We're going to talk a bit about Justice League and Thor Ragnarok. We're not going to talk Avengers Infinity War or Aquaman, because those, other than, well, actually, to my knowledge, Aquaman didn't leak at all, but Avengers Infinity War, a few bootleg copies got out, but they were taken down. But nothing was good quality, and, it's not like something we can sit down and watch over and over again and really get a feel for, like Justice League or Thor Ragnarok. So, we're just going to talk about, what's officially out there. And of course, we need to talk about, DC's updated film slate, which we'll do probably in the second part of the broadcast, because there were some real shocking announcements in there. Marvel didn't really announce anything new, so we're going to skip over them. If we have time, maybe we'll touch on comic books, but again, we talked about that a bit over on Culture Junkies Live this past week. It's mostly DC and IDW. Marvel didn't really say anything big, but we also apologize for not doing an episode for about 3 months. We've had each of our own, personal lives. We've had stuff to attend to. I just moved into a new apartment, and there are a myriad of reasons why we just haven't had the time to do an episode of our own show. So, here goes. We hope you're still sticking with us for the time being. But anyway, let's hop right into that Justice League trailer. I'll go first, since I like the sound of my own voice. Basically, with this Justice League movie, there's a lot going on behind the scenes, and you can't dismiss everything as fake news. Obviously, the Justice League is a hot topic for discussion, so a lot of sites are going to post rumors and whatever, but facts are facts right now, and Joss Whedon, I think, is taking the wheel a little more than some may expect. Yes, reshoots are normal for any kind of movie. They normally last 6 to 10 days and cost between $6 and $10 million and last a week or two. The reshoots for Justice League are June through possibly August and are costing $25 million. The source of this is Variety, one of the most respected trades in the film industry. So don't say these aren't real reporters. Basically, if anything comes down the pipeline from Variety, The Hollywood Reporter, or Deadline, it's authentic. There's a reason why everyone goes to those 3 sites for the top industry news. They're also partnered with studios they have legitimate sources planted in there. And the thing is, it's undeniable that extensive reshoots are going on with Justice League. But the key here is, and many people are probably asking, how are they able to do all this with the release in November and post-production being a thing? And Batman on Film had a report, I believe, in early June, saying that whatever scenes were being done weren't necessarily ones with visual effects shots. And Variety's recent report pretty much corroborated it. And it said that basically Zack Snyder's set pieces were being deemed usable. When you look at the action scenes in especially the second trailer, are so visually dynamic, they reek of Snyder. His fingerprints are all over those. But it's the dialogue and connective threads that they had Joss Whedon, quote unquote, punch up the dialogue. And when you look at the dialogue and the chemistry between characters in the trailer, that feels like Joss Whedon. So a lot of people are saying we're going to get the best of both worlds with Justice League. And yes, there's studio interference all over it, but I think this is one instance where it might pay off because WB is doing all they can to see Justice League is an actual hit. And like I said, it's probably for the better. And who knows how much is gone, how much is being used. I'm kind of wondering if we've got a Richard Donner, Richard Lester thing going for those of you who know all the behind the scenes stuff for Superman 2 out there. I kind of lost my train of thought here. As people here know, I like to ramble.
I was going to jump in real quick.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to be a little less speculative than Eric. Even he's not making wild speculations, and I don't claim that he is. We've talked about these things significantly in private conversations, in post-show, in pre-show, and we talk about the things that we are hearing that are not absolute confirmations. I don't tend to make as many guesses about the state or nature of things. Yeah, we do know that the reshoots are running a little bit longer, at least if those reports are to be believed. We tend to believe things that come from places like The Hollywood Reporter, Vanity, other more credible news sources. The thing that frustrates me is when people start believing speculation that they hear from places like Cosmic Book News and K-drama stars or something, and they hear these not quite as reputable what could be legitimately referred to as quote unquote fake news, but things that are just broad speculation. But as far as I'm concerned, the way that I kind of feel about Justice League is I think that I can tell that the tendrils of Zack Snyder's style are obviously being adhered to. I haven't seen anything that doesn't look Zack Snyder-y in those trailers. As far as the dialogue and whatnot is concerned, it's very possible that when Jeff Johns got his hand on it, some of that dialogue could have been something that came from them. I don't necessarily. No, but I'm sorry. I did say Jeff Johns.
Yeah, Jeff Johns helped write Wonder Woman.
I'm sorry. I meant to say Joss Whedon. Obviously, I got Jeff Johns on the brain. Yeah, Joss Whedon. You can tell that he definitely does have a little bit of the more I would say colloquial language in there, but I just don't know quite yet, and I don't know that we're ever going to know exactly how much influence he had on the direction of the film versus what Snyder originally intended. I mean, maybe eventually we'll inevitably know if we.
I think there even the subtle things in there, like we know Junkie XL was given the boot in favor of Danny Elfman, and as we know, Danny Elfman worked with Whedon on Avengers: Age of Ultron. And I think it's more telling than some would think, because
I wouldn't consider that subtle, though. Like that seems like a significant change to me.
Yeah, Junkie XL said in his statement, I was here something, I'm paraphrasing, but I was part of Zack Snyder's vision, something like that. I do remember the phrase Zack Snyder's vision. So I think, that's really, a testament to how much of an influence Whedon is having right now, bringing Danny Elfman. But, you know, people who are, old men of, 30 some years like you and I will remember, the
Speak for
great work
yourself, buddy.
Danny Elfman did on Burton's Batman movies. And we're not sure he's going to do it, but how awesome would it be if he used his old Batman theme whenever Affleck pops up?
Oh yeah, if we get a reprise, I mean, I think that what's most realistic is, and we saw this in the trailer, is we got a reprise of the Man of Steel theme during the Justice League trailer, which was absolutely fantastic. One of my absolute favorite things is when you get a callback to a theme, and they use elements of that theme to then craft something new. That's something that we've seen in a lot of really great movies that have multi-part stories, and I thought it was. I like the fact that even though we didn't see Superman in the trailer, we get the idea that the spirit of Superman has influenced these people to a degree, and they're fighting at a behest of his memory. But okay, so let's continue. But I'll let you go on. But I'll just say this last before Eric continues is I think that I personally like to try and stay away from as much speculation of, oh, this is completely Joss Whedon's beast. Now it's not as much of a Zack Snyder movie as it was, and I also don't want to say, oh no, this is only a Zack Snyder movie, and Joss Whedon has very minor influence. I think that we don't really know exactly how much of either is going to be true. I honestly feel like it's going to be more like a Zack Snyder product, and we're going to have those tendrils of Whedon's characteristics that he likes to put into movies, that that snappy, snarky dialogue. The only thing that I hope is, and I like some Joss Whedon stuff, I just hope that they don't get too much of that nonchalance that you tend to see. I don't like the idea that, say, for example, Batman's cracking jokes, cracking wise. Batman should play the straight man in a situation like that, and it does kind of appear as though he's doing that in the trailers. As much as I love Jason Momoa and as much as his Aquaman looks like a total badass, this whole idea of like, well, honestly, I think we're all going to die. Like, I would have liked to see my Aquaman exude a little bit more brazen confidence, which like we're seeing in his physicality. But we're just going to have to see is all I'm saying. I don't quite know. And I think people who are making, broad speculations that X is the case, no one really knows for certain yet. And that's pretty much where I'll end on that. So go ahead and continue, Eric.
Yeah. Like I said, none of us are on set, but maybe giving them co-director credit might not be a bad idea. But there are conflicting reports. Variety said that won't be happening, but we might be giving a producing credit or a screenplay credit, because it seems he's probably doing a lot of writing over there. But Justice League was easily my favorite trailer coming out of San Diego. It was even better than the first that dropped back in March, in my opinion. It just seems like the most visually striking superhero movie ever. I just think if you freeze frame practically at any point, it just looks like a comic book brought to life. I mean, we have three downright iconic Batman shots. We have the one of him standing on the gargoyle when we're looking up at him that we've already seen. We have the one of him perched on a gargoyle overlooking what we'll assume is Gotham City. It could be Central City for all we know, but I think it's Gotham. But, I just felt like, hitting one of the trigger buttons and grapnelling to another gargoyle, made me feel like I was in an Arkham game. And then I think there's one of him, kind of dropping down the sky with his cape fanned out. And it just looks so badass. But yeah, lots of stuff to love in there. They're obviously pushing Wonder Woman a little more because of the great success of her movie, and it's well deserved. Flash, Obviously, Ezra Miller is playing and is written differently than Grant Gustin's Barry Allen, which makes sense. I kind of get the impression that he's kind of comic relief. I mean, not a dummy, but I think it's similar to the Wally West Flash that we got in Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, voiced by Michael Rosenbaum, who's more of like a lighthearted Flash, and that's not a bad thing. Plus, we get the impression that this version of Barry is very inexperienced. So it kind of makes sense for him to say some of the lines he does. Cyborg, we did not get as much of an impression of, but we saw him tap into what was either the Batmobile or the Batwing, and we get the impression he's going to be pretty badass. But Cyborg's a character that's still largely unproven to mainstream moviegoers. I mean, me, Josh, and probably most people listening to this podcast are well familiar with Cyborg, so you don't need to teach us too much about him. But if people think he's a breakout character, it's like, yeah, if he does get his own solo movie or appears in Jail 2 or Flashpoint, obviously intend to see more marketing around Cyborg. But Aquaman, I think, again, is kind of proving to be the show stealer. He kind of really has that swashbuckling nature, more like on The Brave and the Bold, but not as outright comedic as John DiMaggio's portrayal. It's also, you can see there's a lot of Jason Momoa in there, and he's really having fun with the character. But everything I see with him in this trailer is phenomenal, which is why I also can't wait for his Aquaman solo movie, because I think he was the right person to bring this character to the masses, so they don't have the picture of that guy riding the seahorse out of the 60s cartoons or Super Friends or
yeah, they're not going to have an image of him riding seahorses. They're going to have an image of him riding the dead bodies of parademons through buildings after they see this movie, I think.
Yeah, it's I think especially things like the Big Bang Theory, despite being a Warner Brothers product and pushing DC Comics all the time, that show has done nothing to help the Aquaman brand. And that's one of many things I've grown to hate about that show. But that's a conversation for another day. Steppenwolf, nice to finally see him. He's very imposing, and if you were just a layman who doesn't know anything about Darkseid, yeah, he looks like a good villain. He's controlling these parademons, but I'm hoping we at least get a cameo by Darkseid, because Justice League 2 right now is not dated for anything. Don't go off the film slate from 2014. There is no Justice League 2 until this one proves a success. There's no date for it. That's why they made Justice League 1 movie instead of 2. But we need Darkseid at some point, and if they do, you've got to make it crafty to where maybe the next movie is mostly on Apocalypse, bring in New Genesis or something, because if now Darkseid, and I believe I've said it on this show more than once, if Darkseid invades with parademons in another movie, it's just going to feel like a complete rehash of this one. And they painted themselves into a corner here, because Steppenwolf is not a big picture villain. He's a subordinate. He's a lackey. And I don't think he was the right choice. At least now he looks fully fleshed out, not like a model someone had to paint that came right out of a kit in the Batman versus Superman Ultimate Edition. But and then we saw Superman. I'm saying we saw Superman there at the end of the trailer, because especially set the video to full screen on your computer and look in the bottom corner of your screen. You can plainly see Superman's red shoulder. And as I said on Culture Junkies Live, unless it's Hugh Hefner in a smoking jacket, I mean, who else is it going to be? There's some people are like, oh, it could be Green Lantern. They're going to have to cast a Green Lantern before we actually get one. Rumors placed Abin Sur is making a cameo in this movie, but if so, he's probably just going to be CGI, or I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But anyway, again, I'm so excited for Justice League. It's hard not to be after viewing a trailer such as that. So, considering we have much more to talk about, before we move on to Thor, Josh, what did you think of the trailer?
Yeah, I thought it was spectacular. I do think it was pretty close between that and the Thor Ragnarok trailer. But I would give the leaning to the Justice League trailer slight edge. Um, there were things that I really, really liked about Thor Ragnarok, and we'll get to those later. But again, we're not talking about the Infinity War trailer simply because it hasn't got official release. I don't think that we could even give it its just due in terms of its quality without seeing a good quality version of it. We don't get an idea of the visuals. Um, we don't get even the audio is obviously of very poor quality. In some of the leaked versions, you can't even see the full images on the screen. So I think that we'll save speculation on that. So for those who are going to claim obviously DC fanboyism, the reason we're not talking about Avengers Infinity War again is because it just hasn't been officially released. Same reason we're not talking about Aquaman leaks, even though there's a description on that as well. But as far as Justice League is concerned, it hit a lot of the things that we wanted to hit. So we get the full team together. We get to see each character shine just a little bit. And I actually don't think that they put a huge emphasis on Wonder Woman more than they did in some of the earlier teaser stuff, because she seemed like she was at the forefront before. She's obviously the most powerful among them. I mean, we don't quite know what Aquaman's full power levels are going to be in this movie. The fact that he's literally without any type of additional, power other than his armor, which I'm assuming is just, whatever Atlantean armor. He's literally surviving a, ride right through an entire multi-story building without any type of apparent injuries. So he's definitely some high level power, but we don't know that he's any more powerful than Wonder Woman, who is ludicrously powerful. We've seen that in Batman versus Superman and the Wonder Woman movie. I would say more so in the Batman versus Superman, because I think she's kind of reached full power levels. But the Wonder Woman at the forefront thing, I think that had more to do with it. She would kind of naturally take on a leader role. Batman is kind of what Batman has always done in some of these bigger world-ending events. He's more like support in command control. He's kind of running things behind the scenes, and then when he's got to get into the fray, he's getting into the Nightcrawler mech machine, and he's blasting people with high-level weaponry and things like that. But I like the fact that we got to see Cyborg a little bit when he takes over the Nightcrawler. We just see that he is in complete command of his powers. He doesn't seem to be like he's grasping for straws, like he doesn't know what to do. We see him flying. We see him using quite a bit of strength and power, stopping a tank in one of the trailers. We see him interfacing with Batman's Nightcrawler, and then he knows who Alfred is, but Alfred does not know who he is. Does he hack the Bat computer? Does he just instantly know any bit of information that Batman's computers know? I mean, that's the way his powers kind of work in the comic books. So we haven't quite got all of that information yet. But what I do think is interesting is that
of course he knows. I mean, he knows all his browser history. I mean, he knows about Alfred's subscription to Captain Stabbing. So.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably like, oh man, Bruce Wayne is into some weird stuff. His browser history should have been cleaned up more. No, it is pretty interesting though. But we got, like I said, we got a chance for each of the characters to shine, which I really, really liked a little bit, even though Cyborg did kind of take a little bit more muted back seat. And I think that character could be really, really, really popular if they play their cards right. Obviously, the guy, Ray Fisher, who is playing him, is in love with that role. He is just loving life at every con you see him at. He is super excited to be there. He is like full of charisma and excitement. And, he's wearing the Borg Life t-shirt. The man got jacked for the role. He's definitely putting in the work, and he's excited to represent that character. You know, obviously with all the talk about diversity in comic book roles and in comic book movies and things like that, DC and Warner Brother would be wise to, you know, make that guy shine. You know, how great is his acting going to be in term? I haven't seen him in any other any other films or TV projects, so I can't speak to the guy's quality as acting, but he seems to portray himself well in the trailer. Obviously, Gal Gadot shines, and I really even liked, although me and Eric were not shy about our concerns about Ezra Miller as the Flash. I think that in this particular iteration of the Flash, where we are actually seeing him more like that Wally West from the animated series, he's kind of, you know, high energy, high humor. He's not the dark and brooding Barry Allen from the Flash television show, who, although a little bit humorous, you know, tends to be more dark. You know, they're making him come across as that kind of, you know, shining beacon of light and happiness and whatnot. So I think that was pretty good. I loved the Gordon scene on the roof where he turns around and he's like, "Oh, they just disappeared," and then he just burst into lightning and he disappears himself. I thought it was really humorous. You know, I think that's the way that most humor should be played in these movies, where it is, it's minor, it's muted, it breaks the tension. It's what good humor should do in movies that are not meant to be comedies. I don't want to see every single character turn into a comedy character, which is one of the things that gives this the edge to me also over, say, Thor Ragnarok. Is I just don't think that pure humor does Thor a body good, as it were. I just don't think it does that character the justice that he probably should have as a much more dramatic and serious character in the Marvel universe. But last but not least, obviously Ben Affleck shines as Batman. He is most certainly the best cinematic Batman we've received on film. Obviously, props go to Kevin Conroy as the best Batman of all time, without question. But as far as live cinematic Batman, Ben Affleck, the physicality that he has, his deliveries are great. His Bruce Wayne is Bruce Wayne through and through, because Ben Affleck isn't acting. He's just being Ben Affleck. I think that character's great, and hopefully we'll get to see more of him in upcoming films. But yeah, the trailer was just great. It was very cohesive in terms of, you know, showing us those characters as a group. And then Steppenwolf, we've talked about this before, and I hate to drone on and on, but we've talked about Steppenwolf before, and me and Eric both had said that we had concerns about whether or not that character was going to be able to kind of take the reins as a, you know, good foil for the Justice League movie. And I think that the answer is overwhelmingly, it appears to be yes. I mean, his power levels are huge, and what I actually like about this is we've already got Doomsday. Now, I mean, you know, Warner Brothers may have kind of, you know, blown their load out of the gate, as it were, with bringing in such a powerful villain right out the gate, and was able to be taken down by 3 of the, you know, 5 principal Justice League characters that we're seeing. But the fact that they need all of them minus Superman to take down, it speaks to not only how powerful Superman was as a force, but also that this guy's power levels are significant. And to start off with a character in a Justice League movie like Steppenwolf, who is supposed to be this tertiary supporting villain in the hierarchy of, you know, Apocalypse and Darkseid's, you know, kind of little minor rogues gallery, the Kirby villains and whatnot from Apocalypse. I think that it's actually going to be a good setup for what I think will eventually be, you know, the next Justice League movie, and moving forward in the DC extended universe. Because if he's that powerful, and they need it when they finally get back up to full power, when Superman inevitably comes back, and then we get a Green Lantern eventually, and we're going to need all of them to then take on Darkseid, who is, you know, this ultimate power in the universe. I think it will be, oh, you thought this guy was bad. No, wait until you get the master himself, Darkseid. And I think that's actually going to be a good thing for the series going forward. But yeah, Justice League trailer was great. I won't keep on it anymore. So what about Apocalypse? I'm sorry, Apocalypse. Jeez, oh Pete's Ragnarok. I'm getting my end of world mythologies mixed up. What did you think about Ragnarok trailer, Eric? I think it was the second strongest trailer, obviously shown at the con. Since we're not talking about Infinity War, what did you like about it? What did you not like about it?
It was very strong. I'll give it that, and they need to put all they have into it with it being separated 2 weeks from Justice League. But I think there's enough consumer confidence in the Marvel brand to where both these movies are going to be able to thrive at the box office. It's just that, Thor might see a bit of that third week drop thanks to Justice League. Of course, Thor is November 3rd, Justice League is November 17th. It's very visually impressive in a different way than Justice League was. The way Thor impresses me is just, again, the enormity and majesty of Asgard. It's really the VFX and the production design that I think Thor has going for it. And a concern of mine with, putting all the jokes and infusing the Planet Hulk stuff in there was this wasn't going to feel like the end of days. And the second trailer more so gives us the impression that, yes, it is. So I'm glad about that. Still a bit too jokey for my taste because the end of days isn't supposed to feel like a party unless maybe you're Darkseid or Hela because it's the greatest day of your life. And I don't know. I'm going to take a moment to say, yeah, Hela is hella hot. I don't know. I have a strange attraction to villainesses.
Yeah, I mean, Kate, we were talking about this on the Culture Junkies podcast, but Kate Blanchett, holy God, she is absolutely smoking hot in this trailer, and she's like 50. It's like there's no question about it. Her villainy is exudes some high level I don't know, sexuality even. She's definitely supposed to be this temptress. But yeah, you are not wrong in that at all.
But I recently, Taika Waititi, the director, I hope I'm saying his name correctly, said that this will be one of the possibly the shortest Marvel Studios movie, clocking in at around 100 minutes. So I'm hoping that they make this really feel like the culmination of a Thor solo trilogy, working all that Ragnarok stuff. And I don't know, I'm kind of guessing the stuff on Sakaar, from Planet Hulk, it's going to be briefer than we think. I think that's going to kind of be maybe Hela just banishes Thor there for a bit. That's where Thor finds Hulk, and then they head back to Asgard or something. I really think that's probably only going to be like the second act of the film or something. But as we see, the Hulk still gets to get his spots in. He's going to, give his buddy Thor some help in kind. He's bringing, double fist down on Surtur's face at some point. But I don't know. For some reason, I don't know. I just don't have too much to say about the Thor Ragnarok trailer. But it gives the impression it will be the best of the Thor movies. But I just have to sit down to see it because while the two Thor movies previous two, I should say, have been entertaining, they're just thin when it comes to screenplay. And I'm hoping that they really gave Ragnarok more depth. That's another major concern of mine. Because trailers can make something look incredibly good, and then you see it, and you're like, okay, everything I needed to know was in the trailer. Where's the script? And it's just, you can make people feel as good as they can coming out of the theater, but especially with repeated viewings, I don't know, kind of trailing off here, but I think you know what I'm getting at. It's just I'm hoping for the best with Thor, but really post Phase One, the only Marvel movies that I think have been worth a crap have been Captain America: The Winter Soldier and Civil War and Spider-Man: Homecoming. I'm sorry, I I just a lot of them, you see them once and they're okay, or they just weren't good at all, in my opinion. I really there was just a freshness and an excitement about Phase One for the most part, but hopefully Ragnarok starts to turn it around. But you know, I but I'll preface by saying, not getting off track, I have all the confidence in Infinity War because hey, it's the Russo brothers and they've knocked it out of the park twice with the Captain America movies. But I'll let you take it over for the rest of Ragnarok, Josh.
Yeah. So while you were droning on and on and on, no, I'm just joking. So yeah, actually, I was rewatching the Thor trailer, so it was fresh in my head. And I mean, I will say this: that thing is an absolute sizzle reel. There's no question about it. I think it's actually probably a better cut trailer than the Justice League trailer. Um, the only biggest problem that I have, and we talked about it a little bit again on the Junkies show, and by all means, you guys need to go check out Culture Junkies live on YouTube and watch the latest episode that aired last Tuesday, and watch that episode. Lots of good discussions on everything at San Diego.
Find it, by the way, on their Facebook page. Just look up Culture Junkies because it's going to be in their more recent videos if you just want to look it up through there.
Yeah, exactly. And we talked a whole lot at length about all of this stuff coming out of out of San Diego Comic-Con. So it's definitely worth checking out. But one of the things that I discussed on that show, and again, we're trying not to like rehash everything, but it wasn't just me who said it, but it was this idea that during the Ragnarok trailer, it's this idea of a lightheartedness and this air of humor, and it's the biggest event that's happened in Thor's universe. It's more detrimental to Thor's universe than the events of the Dark World. Although the Dark World was, potentially destroying Earth, this is actually the destruction of his home, and it's the goddess of death, coming in and destroying not only Mjolnir, but really breaking down. So now Thor still has the, quote unquote power of Thor minus the hammer. So he hasn't had his, I guess, grace taken away like he did in the first Thor movie. He's still fully powered, but he does not have Mjolnir, his trusty and most powerful of weapons, with him at his disposal. So he's kind of broken down to his essence of, what does Thor have left? He has his heroism, he has his bravery, his courage, he has all of these things. And now he also has, he has gained that humility that was necessary for him to gain in the first Thor movie. And we've kind of seen, but I didn't like the fact that they kind of belittle some of the drama. Now, obviously, one of the things that's happened in the Marvel movies is they've tried to inject so much humor into them. And I think, again, the best way that works in a movie like this is you use that humor to break the dramatic tension. But when it seems like it's constant throughout, you lose a little bit of that drama as well. I mean, you can't have the dramatic tension when it's constantly joked. I mean, that being said, one of my favorite parts of the trailer is when he's talking with Bruce Banner and he's like, what the heck's happened? Because apparently some of the behind the scenes talk is that he has been Hulk now nonstop for something like almost supposed to be like 3 years, or some period of time, a significant period of time. He hasn't reverted back to Bruce Banner. And when he's like, what's happened? And he's like, yeah, we fought. And he's like, did I win? And he's like, no, I beat you easily. And he's like, that doesn't sound right. That is the type of humor, because it shows, the arrogance of Thor. And that's something that is absolutely spectacular about that character. I would have actually liked to have seen a little bit more of that type of brash, bravado, old warrior arrogance from Aquaman. and I'm sure we probably will see more because Momoa is an absolute fucking badass. But I mean, like I said, it was an absolute sizzle reel. But one thing that I found interesting, after having watched both of the trailers and literally the Ragnarok trailer just a few moments ago, is when we see the scenes of the armies of Asgard attacking Hela's army, is it had a Snyder kind of feel to it. They do the slow-mo artistic shot. We're really getting this intense, very cinematic cinematography of that scene, and it had a Snyder-esque feel to it. I'm not going to lie, and people would probably say like, "Oh, that's heresy." One thing that nobody would claim about Zack Snyder is that he doesn't know how to set up and establish a great shot. And in his artistic flair is almost second to none in terms of visuals, making people look badass. They did a lot of those in the Thor Ragnarok trailer, and it was a happy and welcome thing that has kind of been missing in the Thor movies. But as far as another thing that makes me not put this at the top of the list of my favorite trailers is I feel like they've changed too much of the whole mythological feel to Thor. Although we're touching on all of the kind of mythological things that happens in Thor's universe, we're not getting some of that, I guess, regality that I expect from Thor. They're making him more mundane, and he's just a super powered dude bro. And they did the same thing with Hulk. They kind of gave Hulk a makeover. He got his eyebrows laser bladed or whatever the new cool chick trend is. They gave him a nose job. He's got that Hulk stubble is gone. He got a high fade. They made Hulk look a little bit more, or rather a little less menacing when he's outside of the armor. I don't know why they decided to go with that visual aspect, but with regards to the visual aspect, I really felt like this movie felt like Guardians of the Galaxy 2.5. I know that from the Infinity trailer, and this is probably the most we'll talk about it, is from the Infinity trailer, we see that indeed Thor and the Guardians of the Galaxy seem to be sorry, Eric is distracting me with comments. The Infinity War trailer shows us that Thor and the Guardians of the Galaxy are having a lot more interaction. And in fact, the Guardians of the Galaxy seemed like they were predominantly at the forefront of that trailer. And obviously they're very, very popular, and they're the most recent Marvel film to come out. And so I understand why they would put the emphasis on that in that trailer. But I'm thinking that they did the visual changes and kind of the aesthetic changes. They made the trailer kind of have that 80s-esque kind of, candy pop look to it, like they've done with the Guardians of the Galaxy trailers. And I just don't know that it perfectly works for Thor. I think that a lot of people are going to like it who don't really care about the dramatic stuff. I mean, I know a lot of people who are like, oh yeah, I really liked the Thor trailer. It's got a lot of jokes. And I'm like, yeah, that's not what I want from Thor. Like, that's not what that character is. It's never been what that character is. And if Thor is humorous, it's because he's playing the straight man to someone else's humor, or because the things that he says are so out of the norm and so uncharacteristic, because he kind of has that, man out of place thing that is often humorous. It's that situational comedy. That is when then we should be seeing humor from Thor. Like that. I always recall one of my more humorous scenes from the first Thor movie, which is, what is this beverage, when he's drinking the coffee in the diner, and bring me more, and he smashes the glass. It's like, yes, because he's used to be, sitting around in the halls of Valhalla kind of thing, in the halls of Asgard, as it were, and, drinking heavily from his goblet as he then smashes it into the ground after a hearty battle, because, they got this very, mythological, almost Viking, Norse mentality. I love that about Thor, and it does play into some of the humor because it's uncharacteristic and he's this man out of place. But the emphasis on humor alone, I don't think that it shouldn't be there, but I just think that when the emphasis is put on it so much, I think that it plays down to his strengths, which is, again, this honor, bravery, this warrior mentality, his arrogance, and his bravado. You could make him have that bravado and have it be humorous because it seems over the top, but he should be completely sincere in his bravado. Like, no, I beat you easily. That is funny Thor. But it's funny not because he's trying to be funny, because that's just how it comes across in that scene. But it is a great trailer. If you guys have not checked out any of the trailers, I think Eric, we can do a link to at least the Justice League and the Thor trailer in the article, I believe.
I was gonna say, if you want to put them like on the YouTube thing, because this will also be posted at DC Comics News, and I'm not too sure how thrilled they'd be, with us leaking a Thor trailer.
Or yeah, we might get into some trouble with the guys over at the website. Yeah, but we'll put a link in the YouTube video.
Shameless plug to site I work for. You could just go to We Got This Covered YouTube page, and all the trailers are there.
Oh, shameless plug.
But anyway, I think it's about time we move on to DC's movie slate.
Yeah, so why don't you get started with the DC movie slate? I'm pulling it up myself so I can speak with accuracy. But other than the Batman and Harley Quinn animated coming out in August,
we're talking more so live action here.
Right. Other than that, the next movie, as obviously we're getting, is Justice League. So what else is on the docket for DC in the next couple of years?
And we keep stressing, stop going off the slate released in 2014 and the memes that haven't corrected for this, people. Just because The Flash is not coming out in March of 2018 because there's no script and no director. They have not shot a single frame for that movie, so just stop. The only DC movie for 2018 is Aquaman. It's out in December of that year, and they're well into principal photography, so still might be a while before we get any officially released footage, but as we said, really looking forward to it. 2019, we're getting Shazam. They're supposed to start shooting early 2018. I can't remember the original date given for that. I think it was June 2019, but I'm still not going to go by the original date because that was never set in stone. So for all we know, Shazam could be like February 2019. We don't know.
They're claiming on Newsarama that it's in April 5th. So I don't know if they actually did hammer down on a specific date.
Maybe, and I think that would be a good time to roll out Shazam as an unproven character, because I'll get to in a moment. I think they need to save the summer for a legitimate tentpole. We know Wonder Woman is coming out December of 2019, so obviously they're not wasting time getting out a sequel with her, because her film was so well received and the character is a hot commodity now. So 2.5 years is a good time to roll out a sequel. Normally we think 3, but 2.5 isn't bad at all. In December, as we know with movies like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, December is a fine time to roll out a blockbuster because it's the holiday season. November, Thanksgiving time also isn't too bad. But other films they mentioned at Comic-Con were specifically The Batman, of course, Batgirl, directed by Joss Whedon, Suicide Squad 2, Green Lantern Corps, and although it was not mentioned at the panel, Harley Quinn versus the Joker. And they did the biggest bomb drop, which we cannot ignore, Flashpoint, the new title of the Flash movie, which obviously everyone's thinking it's going to be some kind of a reboot for the DCU. I think it's going to be a soft reboot, but it's definitely, I think they'll touch on the actual Flashpoint comic, because the TV show was just, the concept of Flashpoint applied to this TV show. You know, people are expecting, Flashpoint Batman to show up and, the Atlantean Themyscira War. That's not going to happen when they haven't established any of the characters on the TV show, and they don't have the budget to do that. But in the movies, they can, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan's all for it. He's been teasing it on social media. Who knew that when he did a favor to his friend Zack Snyder, doing a cameo as Thomas Wayne in Batman vs. Superman, that anyone had just stumbled backward into casting the best possible Thomas Wayne Batman. And although the Martha Wayne Joker wasn't in the mainline Flashpoint comics, she was in the Night of Vengeance, offshoot book. If they do like a 2.5-hour movie, there probably will be time to squeeze in the Martha Wayne Joker. And, just saying it here, Lauren Cohen would probably be a better Joker than Jared Leto because pretty much anyone would be a better Joker than him.
Get the fuck out of here.
But yeah, it's Flashpoint. We don't know when that's going to be released, and since it doesn't have a director or writer yet, we're assuming it'll come after the Batman because who knows what Matt Reeves is mapping out. We don't know, but that could also be a point. Affleck's not going to stick around forever. He's getting older. I think he wants to do at least one solo movie to put a stamp on this character. But that could be the opening to introduce a younger Batman because after Barry, sets the timeline right as well as he can, we're all thinking things aren't going to be exactly the same, and that could be the chance to introduce a younger younger Bruce Wayne. Like, I don't know, maybe it's going to be Casey Affleck. Maybe it's going to be Frankie Muniz. I don't know. Who's going to be the next Batman? We'll see, but it does leave that opening.
I'll tell you who it's not going to be. It's not going to be Scott Adkins.
Yeah. We'll save that for another day. But the film slate leaves us a lot to be excited for. But yeah, conspicuous by their absence, Gotham City Sirens and Nightwing. I think it might have been Matt Reeves and even Jeff Johns who said they're going to take the time to introduce the larger Bat family in the Batman, which, it's long overdue to bring in characters like Nightwing, a proper Barbara Gordon Batgirl in the movies. I wouldn't doubt if Batgirl gets here before the Batman. I wouldn't doubt if that is summer 1910 pull and Batman gets here 2020 because I think Joss Whedon has probably already hashed out more story ideas for Batgirl behind the scenes than we'd know. Plus, things changed, but Deborah Snyder said at, I think it was like Shanghai or Beijing premiere for Wonder Woman, that Batgirl would be the next female-led DC movie. So we'll see. But Gotham City Sirens, even though David Ayer mentioned in an interview with IGN at Comic-Con why he did this rather than Suicide Squad 2, they still didn't talk about it at the panel. And, Batman on Film is saying that it's not going to happen. And Gotham City Sirens is rapidly falling into I'll believe it when I see it territory. But like Wonder Woman, Harley Quinn, especially being a female character, is one of DC Films' hottest commodities right now. And for them to not put her in any type of movie soon is stupid. Because a lot of people thought she was the best part of Suicide Squad, which, though divisive amongst moviegoers, was a financial success and a marketing monster, most of it having to do with Harley. So I think we're going to see her soon. Maybe it'll be Suicide Squad 2, which will be with a different director. Who knows when this Joker versus Harley is going to get here, but hopefully that gives us, we start to see Harley as more the independent woman. But we need to get Harley on film no later than 2019, 2020, because we can't have her on the shelf for too long. Because, Margot Robbie's Harley is getting her own calendar for 2018, and quite frankly, that's going to be my 2018 calendar. But they really need to think of how they're placing these characters. Like now we know that Matt Reeves is doing a page one rewrite and has creative control over the Batman. Probably the only way they were able to nail down a film director like him. Might not include Joe Manganiello's Deathstroke anymore. But Joe Manganiello is such a great choice for Deathstroke. Maybe put him in Suicide Squad too. It would be interesting to see him and Will Smith's Deadshot play off each other. You know, who is the greatest assassin in the world? And, you know, Deathstroke recently was, at least briefly, a member of the Suicide Squad during the new Suicide Squad run in the new 52 days. He wasn't there for very long, but it would be an interesting rivalry there. But yeah, I think Green Lantern Corps is still a way off, but that film really needs to happen. You know, no direct. Well, they said David Goyer and someone else is working on the screenplay, possibly David Goyer or the guy who preceded Matt Reeves on the Planet of the Apes series might be the Green Lantern Corps director. There are a lot of rumors floating out there, but these announcements, especially Flashpoint, really give us a lot to look forward to. And we're coming up on the hour, Josh. So just quickly, what do you have to say about this updated slate? Most of them are undated, but that Flashpoint. What are you looking forward to?
I mean, definitely when they talked about the Flashpoint is an awesome thing, and like you said, who knew that we were gonna ever get potentially Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Thomas Wayne Batman? It would be an absolutely exceptional thing to see on film. I love Jeffrey Dean Morgan. He's definitely got a cult fan following from not only Watchmen, but even from back in the day, his work on Grey's Anatomy. Women love that guy. Guys love that guy. And if we could possibly get the Flash bringing the Thomas Wayne letter back to Batman and having him cry over it, it would be like the most comic accurate, never expected to see it on film scene that we've ever got. That would be absolutely exceptional. We got to see it in animated form. It'd be fantastic if we got to see it in live action. But I'm obviously excited about Aquaman coming up. As far as Shazam, I just really don't know. I mean, if they can get a good male lead, I just don't know who is going to, come across as Shazam's supposed to be an absolute powerhouse. And if anyone is going to have to play against a foil eventually, like Black Adam in The Rock, assuming The Rock does commit to that role and he's contractually obligated to do so. I mean, those kind of deals fall by the wayside.
Black Adam and Shazam are two separate movies.
No, I am aware that they're two separate movies.
But I think they're going to do like Dr. Savannah or something with Shazam, and Black Adam and Shazam won't meet until like Shazam 2, or there's rumors of Black Adam being in Man of Steel 2 or something, which would be they're just playing off Dwayne Johnson's star power, which isn't no one's a for sure thing. But not to interrupt you for too long, but I said in a recent article that if either Shazam or Black Adam fails with moviegoers, it's going to be a damn shame if these two never meet up on film.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. I mean, I think that because we are getting a Black Adam movie supposedly, potentially all by its lonesome, and if we do end up getting a Black Adam movie, is Shazam going to be in that? Is it, I just don't know what they're going to do. I don't want to see like a, Scorpion King style origin story of the villain in its own movie and not actually have them tie into. I mean, I think, yeah, that origin story kind of worked with Wonder Woman where she didn't have to have any other heroes with her. But is that going to work for a villain origin story? I just don't know. We've never really seen a villain origin story in a superhero film in that kind of way before, at least not in my recollection. So I don't know how well that would work. I mean, we don't quite know if we're still going to get a Cyborg standalone movie. They didn't talk about it. They had originally said back in the day, in 2020, potentially a Cyborg film. We don't know what the status of that is. I guess that is probably dependent on Justice League. They'd have 3 years to make that movie after Justice League. So if he really shines in that, we could potentially get a Cyborg movie. And I'm hoping that, yeah, we eventually do, because, come on, if we can get an Ant-Man movie, I don't see there's any reason we can't get a Cyborg movie. And again, with that diversity push, they, people want to see heroes. People want to see themselves represented, on film, in these heroes. And so, Cyborg's going to be a really good showcase for so-called people of color. So I think that would be awesome to see. And again, Ray Fisher definitely seems to be loving life with his casting as that character. Yeah, the Wonder Woman sequel obviously is going to be great. They're definitely pushing that character very hard after her success. Yeah, I think that the other things that we talked about, the Gotham City Sirens, we're not 100% certain on, that. Obviously Batgirl is definitely going to get made because Whedon's involved. When are we going to get that Suicide Squad sequel is another question. I did hear recently that David Ayer dropped off of Gotham City Sirens. I don't know if that report has been.
Yeah, that's a good side note to mention because there was industry chatter, it's not happening, and then people were like, "Man, he debunked it." All he did was post a comic book cover of New 52 Harley Quinn on Twitter, and people were like, "Man, he said it all there." It's like he didn't do shit. Like I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. And like I said, we try to keep our ear to the ground, but sometimes even the speculation, even when it comes from seemingly believable sources, you don't quite 100% know. So is David Ayer still going to be attached to Gotham City Sirens, or is he going to be some way attached to a Harley versus Joker movie? Who knows at this point? That's all speculation. But as far as the Suicide Squad sequel, is it up in the air? Is it going to happen? There's even been, rumors of a Deadshot solo film. And obviously we talked about the Nightwing potentiality of a solo film. Those things would all be great to see. I mean, a lot of people say, don't go to the Batman well, don't go to the Batman well. And I'm not talking about Batman well from The Tick. I'm talking about the well of the Batman mythology. But those characters are, Superman does not have the supporting, hero characters aside from really Supergirl, that have the popularity and the love in the eyes of the public, like characters like Robin. Although, a character like Robin has been kind of, humorized in the pop culture over time. Anyone who reads comic books, anyone who watches animation knows that Robin's badass. And especially Nightwing's a beloved DC hero and has been for years, at least since the 70s when he took on that moniker. And so it's about time that we get something like that. And again, with the diversity, people want to see female heroes. So Batgirl does seem like a shoo-in. She is a beloved character as well. And if they did that right, that could be a phenomenal movie. And, who better to helm a female-centric, hero piece than Whedon? I other than maybe now Patty Jenkins, I believe is her name. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. We're coming up on the hour. I think we might be a little bit over. Anything else we wanted to touch on with regards to San Diego Comic-Con movie slates and all that?
Not really. I'll just say, if you want to hear us talk comics, go over or watch the Culture Junkies live video cast from earlier this week, because it was pretty much the first topic we got to. So if you want to hear us, there was a little echo at the beginning for the first few minutes, but stick with it. Because we got it sorted out. But we
really went over the whole gamut of comic news out of the San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah. So if you want to hear us talk about Arkham Asylum 2, Wonder Woman Earth 1 Volume 2, Josh and Ken Shiro especially expressed their displeasure about Frank Miller and John Romita Jr. doing a Superman Year 1. We talked a little bit about IDW now picking up Sonic the Hedgehog, since they recently parted. Sega and Archie recently parted ways, so we touch on those major announcements. So yeah, go listen to that video cast if you want to hear us, elaborate more on all that comic book stuff. But I would say hopefully we'll be back soon with an episode. We unfortunately pretty much missed the boat on reviewing Wonder Woman's theatrical release, so maybe we'll review it when it comes out on Blu-ray. Maybe we'll get Stevie back on for whenever Riverdale season 2 premieres. That's early October, but hopefully we have something planned before then. As we said, Josh and I just have a lot of craziness going on. But before we close out, I'll plug our links for all the latest DC news across all forms of media. Check out DCComicsNews.com for our entire backlog of podcasts and other miscellanea. Check out our blog site at multiverseentertainment.wordpress.com. Though it's not affiliated, affiliated with this show, I should say. Check out WeGotThisCovered.com for all your entertainment needs. And although we plugged their show a billion times in this broadcast, check out their actual website, our friends at culturejunkies.net. And like us on Facebook at facebook.com/a-podcast-from-season. So until next time, thanks for listening and goodbye.
Yeah, thanks for checking out the show today. I hope you liked it. Eric has thoroughly plugged all of the official links, so check us out where is applicable. Hopefully we will indeed do a Wonder Woman review. We both really liked the movie, so it's definitely worth talking about in a later podcast. And I think, yeah, we'll probably do like a Blu-ray review when we could really get into even everything, special features and so on and so forth. Give it a really thorough wrap up as it deserves, for certain. So I'm Josh, and for me and Eric, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys in the next podcast.